You know, Amanda, you're also going for Joe Biden this time around, and you said that when you and I spoke before, you're exhausted by all of it. Kind of what Natalie's saying, but you said specifically you were looking for something different this time around. What are you looking for? What is your issue?
Thanks, Harris, and amazing eyes, by the way. I am so encouraged right now. I have seen that this country is in a place of exhaustion, but I voted, and what drove me there was, one, my faith, which calls me to love my neighbor. And when I go to the voting booth, I'm thinking about who is my neighbor and thinking about all of the people in this country that don't look like me or love like me or believe like me, yet who are also made in God's divine image. I'm also encouraged because of the conversations that I've been having with white women these past 4 years, whose hearts are really beating and breaking and feeling in new ways. Regardless of political party or ideology, when we have heard about children that are being taken from their parents, hearts are breaking all across the board, and that encourages me to see this new awakening.
So, Janet, you have voted for... So you bring up a hot topic, and it's something, Amanda, that Democratic voters had said would get people en masse to the polls. You would see them jumping from Trump support to Joe Biden support. We don't know how this entire night is going to look, but if it doesn't shape up that way, why do you think that would be the case?
Yeah, we don't know. It's still really early, as you said, Harris, but I'm still really hopeful. Like I talked about before, I've had so many conversations with mothers who are taking their mama's heart to the polls with them this year. And we just, brought up George Floyd, and I think of all the moms whose hearts literally broke open in new ways when George was lying on the floor, calling for his mama. That has opened people's hearts in new ways. And then to hold that with the president then 2 or 3 days later saying, that George Floyd would be proud today when all he can think about is a number and an economy. I'm seeing mothers and voters having to hold those two things together, a real life, a son, that all of us know who are mothers, what it feels like to have a child with someone who is more worried about numbers and the economy. And those two things don't match up, and I think we're going to see that tonight.
All right. I've got to cut it now, and Janet, I promise to come back to you. I do want to say that Joe Biden right now, from the Fox News voter analysis, Amanda, does show that black voters are still very strong for Joe Biden. They haven't fully counted Fulton County yet, so we'll see what happens there. But some of these same issues, as a minister, I know that you've been watching just different demographics in your congregation. The coronavirus was something that Joe Biden thought he could really hit home with. As a Biden voter, how do you think he did with that? Did that turn out to be the thing that he could win it with as much as people thought?
I think it's one of the things. I think when we talk about the economy, we can't actually fix the economy without first addressing this global pandemic that we're part of. And that resonates with Democratic voters, of course. Another thing that I really hope we can figure out a table to have a conversation around is all of these interlocking injustices. We can't really talk about racial injustice without talking about climate justice. And we can't talk about climate justice without talking about economic justice and environmental justice. It's all related. And I don't think we're doing a good job on a national level of laying that space for having this conversation that says all of these things are connected. I also really believe that we've got to figure out as a people how to be the people that can be the change in this world. We need to cultivate a prophetic imagination and the moral courage to move this country into a place where all can flourish. Right now, we are very far from that. There are 38 million children in this country who are poor and low income, and that's not the world that any of us want.
John, I'm curious to get your thoughts as a police officer as we go forth.